I'm not going to let the College Football Playoff Committee rain on my parade too much. I'm not. It's been a good season for the University of Michigan. We were 2-4 last year, and here we are in the playoffs. Go blue, baby. But I'm going on a rant. Oh, I'm going on a rant because the College Football Playoff Committee, they are so SEC-centric. The whole nation, ESPN, is so SEC-centric that it just has to be called out. It has to be called out. And what better person to do it than a Michigan fan and a Big Ten channel here, basically, with 7,600 subscribers. That's enough. It's not a huge base. I'm not Uncle Lou. Oh, we'll get into that at some point from now till New Year's Eve. I'm not Uncle Lou, but I got myself a little bit of a following, so I got a little bit of things to say here. Let's just flip this back to last week, okay? And let's say that Ohio State was number one. Let's just put it the same kind of scenario that we just had for championship week. Ohio State's number one, Alabama's number two, and Michigan's number three. And Michigan does what they did do to Ohio State. They win by 15, right? And then Alabama is playing against Auburn, and they do to Auburn what we did to Iowa. They beat Auburn 42-3. Does anybody believe that they would jump Michigan over Alabama in that scenario after they beat Auburn 42-3? And is Auburn that much better than Iowa? They're not. Iowa's better than Auburn. Especially on paper, on record, everything says that Iowa's better than Auburn. Did you know that Iowa has not given up more than 28 points in 37 straight games prior to playing Michigan yesterday? Yeah. So while you guys are disrespecting Iowa and the Big Ten in general over and over again, that has to be said that 37 games, Michigan's able to score 42 on you. So you can be mad you can say whatever you want about Iowa's offense and everything else, but their defense is pretty damn good, which makes them a decent football team and a hard to win against football team. So if that happened, if that very same scenario had happened, like I said, and Alabama beat Auburn 42-3, oh, they're not jumping Michigan over Alabama. That's not going to happen. Thing number two that I want to say in this scenario, Georgia. How is Georgia? All I've heard on ESPN is Georgia's the best win of the season for Alabama. That win is the best win of the season. As if they just forgot what happened last week in Ann Arbor. I believe the Georgia team that I saw yesterday would get mollywopped by Ohio State. I think that Michigan has the best win of the season this year. I think that Georgia's getting way too much credit. Oh, but Ray, they've been dominant all season long. They've just splattered teams that they've played against all season long. Yeah, they play in the SEC East, you dodo. Michigan has 3 teams in the top 10 in their division alone. Michigan State number 10, Ohio State number 6, Michigan number 2. Georgia is number 3. They got number 22, Kentucky. They got Tennessee. They got Florida. They got Missouri. They got South Carolina. They have Vanderbilt, the worst team in the SEC. That's 6 of your games right there. You got an FCS opponent. I don't even know who that was. You blew them out. You got UAB. You blew them out. UAB, FCS, the SEC East. Goodness, do you guys have any good wins? Do you have any real wins? I would hope that you can look dominant with that season, with that schedule. I would hope you would. If you swapped Georgia and Michigan, guess what? We wouldn't be having this conversation because Georgia would not have even made their conference title because they would have lost to Ohio State. We just saw it yesterday. The best passing offense Georgia has faced all season long is number 39, the Florida Gators. Oh, wow. I would hope that your secondary could hold strong all season long and dominate opponents when you're going against, at best, in a 12-game season, the number 39 offensive passing attack in the nation. And on average, you're facing the number 74 passing attack in the nation. Wow, I would hope that you could dominate all season long. And what happens when you actually do face a good passing attack? Oh, you get boat raced yesterday by Alabama. And you would have got boat raced by Ohio State. Did you know that the guy that just absolutely demolished you yesterday, Jamison Williams? Did you know that he was from Ohio State? And he had to leave Ohio State because the 3 receivers they have already were better than him and ahead of him on the roster? Yeah, I know you know that. You at least know that much about college football, but you don't know about the Big Ten, son. But you're going to find out. Michigan opens up as a 7.5-point underdog against Georgia, and we're pretty dang good against the spread this year. So I know at least we're going to cover the spread. I know at least. I got Uncle Lou. I'm watching him or whatever, and it's just cracking me up because he says he thinks both of these games are going to be blowouts. Yeah, I would imagine an SEC person to say that. He thinks that Hassan Haskins is going to get 30-plus carries. That's how I know you haven't watched any Michigan football, my friend. You haven't watched any Michigan football because Haskins got 30-plus carries against Ohio State because Blake Corum was injured. But now we got Donovan Edwards playing a ton. We got Blake Corum back from injury. So I know you don't watch Michigan football because usually Haskins doesn't get any more than 17 touches. Okay? And you got Aiden Hutchinson. Everybody knows him, obviously, but you didn't mention David Ajabo. You don't just got one guy coming around the edge. You got two guys. But I'm getting too off topic here. I'm talking too much about Georgia. I just want to stick with Alabama here. I gave those two examples. Why does Alabama have the number one win in the nation? They don't. Michigan does over Ohio State. And why does Alabama just get credit and just be able to jump when Michigan held serve? They won by 15 over Ohio State, and they won 42-3 over Iowa. Okay, Iowa was at number 2 in the nation at some point. You should never not move up in that scenario, and that nobody should jump you in that scenario ever. Especially 1 week. Does ESPN, is there just some kind of Men in Black eraser or something kind of thing going on? Some kind of memory eraser? Did we forget against Auburn just last week against a backup quarterback? It took you 4 overtimes to win. Are we just going to conveniently forget that stuff? Has Michigan had close opponents too? Yes. And let's just say that. Yes, let's just say that. I'm looking at the resumes. They're very similar. Michigan had a scare against Nebraska, had a scare against Penn State, and Alabama had a scare against Florida and a scare against Auburn, okay? We got some of the same kind of wins. We both have a really good win in Ohio State and Georgia. The only real difference between Michigan's resume and Alabama's resume is our loss is by 4 points in a game that we were up by 16 points, mind you, to Michigan State, who's number 10 in the nation, and your loss is to number 25, technically, Texas A&M. So if you have similar resumes and the loss is better in Michigan's favor, why did Michigan get jumped? It's just hilarious to me. The bias is just so real. Last week, Wisconsin, they started out 1-3. They couldn't figure things out at first. They win 7 straight games, moved to 8-3. They're number 14 in the nation, right? They play at Minnesota. They lose 23-13. Wasn't the prettiest game for Wisconsin, but they dropped them out. The committee does. They dropped them out of the top 25 altogether. It's like they knew that Alabama was going to win this game against Georgia, and they said, we got to give Michigan less top 25 wins so that we can give a reason as to why Alabama got the nudge over them. It must be nice. I've never seen a team drop over 11 spots. They had to have dropped at least 12 because they got to be 26 or lower. They dropped at least 12 slots for losing by 10 to an 8-4 Minnesota team at Minnesota. If that's not disrespect, I don't know what is, because guess what? If Arkansas was playing at Minnesota and they were number 14 and they lost by 10 points, do you think Arkansas is dropping out of the top 25? No. But, I'm just a Big Ten fan and we're just crazy and we're just speculative and we just make this stuff up. The AP poll is not the College Football Playoff Committee, so it's not the same thing, but it's still a very good example because they might as well be the same thing. They do the same crap. They favor the SEC and they screw everybody else over. When Arkansas lost 37-0 this year to Georgia and got just embarrassed, and it wasn't even a close game, it wasn't competitive at really any point in the game, they were number 8 in the nation. They dropped that week to number 13. That's the kind of stuff that the AP poll and the College Football Playoff Committee do. I'm going to use Wisconsin again. If Wisconsin lost 37-0 to Ohio State and they were the number 18 in the nation at the time, they wouldn't drop to 13. They dropped to 21. They dropped way back. Georgia, you got one good win this year. Clemson. That's it. And Clemson was a boat wreck at that point. That was first game of the season, and we saw what happened. They ended up losing North Carolina State and Pitt, and just looked bad in general for much of the season. And they started to figure out, I'm not even so certain that Georgia would beat Clemson again. I'm not even certain that would happen again if they were to rematch. That's your one good win, though. That's the one win I'll give you. And so no, I don't respect Georgia. I think we're going to beat them. 7.5-point underdogs? Cool. Give me Michigan all day, every day. And we'll shut the SEC up. We will. We'll see you later, guys. And I expect a lot of SEC fans to come in from time to time running that mouth. I'll be here.